Welcome to Business Cake. This is a show where we talk creativity, work, and ideas with a variety of guests. In today's conversation, Patrick and I speak with dynamic duo Hannah and DJ Howard. Hannah is CEO, DJ, the COO of Howdy, a marketing agency that they run together. This started a couple months into COVID after all of the revenue streams had dried up. They didn't know what to do, but they were ready to work, ready to hustle. This is a fun story. It's a fascinating story. There are ups and downs, everything you'd think of when starting and running a business. I hope you enjoy it.
But if we're like greeting you, we could say, hey, howdy, because if your company's name is Hey Howdy, then we'd have to say, hey, howdy.
Hey, howdy. Or you can email our info at hi@heyhowdy.com.
You guys.
I can't help you send email on app.
Shut up,
Yeah,
Siri.
Siri
It sounds about right.
She's like, I'm out.
She's like, I should help you, but I can't.
Just so we
On
can
your
get
own.
this, we can nail this down. Who came up with the name?
Yeah, we hired an agency to do it. So it's one of our friends who has, they're called Tiny Wins. And yeah, they're incredible. When we get to inspiration, they're one of the people that have done some of the most like creative and awesome work. We happen to know them personally. So when we got started, we were like, oh, we need a new name. We'll get into this later, but it was called Ink and Root. And it was like, we were doing something totally different. It was very small. So we were like, oh, we need a different name. We need new branding. And so they did the whole like branding exercise and all the things with us. But yeah, the website being Hey Howdy has been an interesting thing. I just kind of roll with it now because I'm like, it doesn't really matter. When it matters, like I'll say howdy, obviously, but like a lot of clients would be like, let me intro you to Hannah at Hey Howdy. And I'm just like, hi. So sometimes it just be like that.
And then what are the roles and responsibilities for you two? So Hannah, are you the CEO and
Yeah.
DJ is the construction
Foreman.
Yeah.
foreman? Yes.
On paper, COO.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Which kind of means all of the things that nobody else really wants to do.
Absolutely. It's good people
So,
though. Yeah.
So inherently, those things get dropped on my plate. Or the more scary part is, I mean, as y'all are well aware, that we don't even know exist. It's like there's nobody out there saying many of the things that I'm doing. Nobody is like, oh, you should go do this. I'm like, oh, wait, an employee moved. We need to like update all those things about their like taxes and like that's like kind of important. Like, I wish somebody would have told me that. And
You just get a notice in the mail and they're like, hey, send us $10,000 because you didn't do this thing an hour ago. Yeah.
No, I think one of my favorite example of that is whenever we had a baby and like it was kind of just a shit show. We had August and we were trying to figure out insurance and adding him to our plan. And it was after he was born and we were like trying to figure all this out. And who was it, DJ, that the insurance lady was on the phone with him and she was like, I mean, this is insane. Like your company's HR team should have like talk to you like this. You need to bring this to them and tell them that they need to back pay because and we were like, yeah, all right, cool. We'll definitely go tell them that. Note to self, you really need to get the insurance thing figured out before the baby's born.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot of learnings on the way.
She doubled down on it. I said, well, we don't have HR. The person that's in HR it's like they're learning. They don't know what they're doing. And she was like, well, you need to take that to your company leadership. And I was like, well, that's me. We found the problem. Okay.
She was going to keep going until you got called out.
Yeah, I'm like, I see what you're doing here. I'm guilty. Okay, so we can't get insurance.
That's
cool.
great.
That's awesome.
Better for you guys to find that out on yourselves though than
It's very true.
one of your employees. So that's
It's a great point.
bright side.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually I haven't never thought about that, but that is very true. I would feel really bad. Like for me, I'm like I just messed myself up, but it ended up being quite an expensive mistake until the insurance company went out of business. But it was expensive, so I'm glad it was on me.
Yeah.
True.
It's true.
Before we jump into everything else, can you tell us what you guys do? Like as Howdy, what is Howdy? What do you guys do?
Yeah. Our whole approach is how do we get the right people's attention? So our companies our clients are B2B software companies that are trying to break through the noise and like get on the radar of their prospects or continue like deals and conversations they're having. And like within the B2B space, it's very like cold and impersonal. And so we're like, hey, we bring the creativity and like the cool direct mail campaigns you see a lot of the times with like B2C. Like we bring that approach to the B2B space. And so we do direct mail campaigns. We do like activations in person, virtual events. And so a lot of times, like we do merch and we do swag and we'll do events, but we're not a merch or swag or event company. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's kind of like the difference is like our whole thing is, hey, like if you're going to like within the space, it's all about content. It's all about they're selling their product and like they're talking to these very specific titles. And I think where we come in, that's a little bit different than just other, again, merch companies or event companies, is we try to bring like content to life in a really unique way. Like how do we like merge the content that you're talking about at this event with an experience so it creates a more memorable, environment for the guest, or like a direct mail kit that has messaging around the product that's actually funny and like cool and people get it and they're like, oh, like I see that tie-in, like I see why they did that. And so we do a lot of virtual events, we do in-person events and direct mail. That's kind of like our main like 3 categories of things. But that's, I think like why I would say we're different than, if someone just wants to come in and like get swag, like we do a lot of swag for our clients and we do a lot of gifting for our clients, but I wouldn't call us like, oh, we're just a gifting company or, oh, we're just a swag company. And so I think it's also been a challenge in trying to, be able to show up and tell people who we are, because we get categorized a lot incorrectly that we have to like recreate this category of like, no, like here's what we do. But, so yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you stumble into that? Or was it something that you were like, you saw it from afar and you knew you wanted it?
No. Yeah. Great question. So in 2020, I guess like, I'm going to try to give the shortest version of this. I had a company, it was called Ink and Root, and we were doing corporate like workshop activations for them to be like, hey, we want to get together some prospects and like we don't want to just do a lame happy hour. So we were based in Denver. I had one full-time employee and we would like pop up in their space and create a cool environment and like teach some class or just like do something cool that people wanted to show up for. It's pretty small. And then I also had this company called Feast Dinner Party, which was this luxury dinner party service. So like we had like ceramics and all the cool glassware for all the different wine things you could think of. We had like anything in your head. You're like, if I were going to host this like bomb party, almost like a mini wedding, you'd have to hire out all these different things, like a planner and a rentals and a chef and a cocktail person and a som to do the wine pairings. We did everything in one. And a lot of like companies would use it as well. So we were doing like corporate dinners. And then they would, sometimes do, so Ink and Root was like the activations, like workshop side, and then Feast was like the dinner party side. So I was doing both of those things. I would say Feast was like really growing, picking up traction. This is like going into 2020, so 2019. We also, DJ has been at like some like tech software startups. That's kind of like where he's hopped around, and mostly in sales. You can speak to that, Deej, in a second. But like, we also had our house on Airbnb, and then we had. Have you heard of Turo? It's like
Yeah,
Airbnb
absolutely.
for cars.
Just used them last week. Yep.
Okay, great. We had multiple cars on Turo. So this is like, again, 2019. So we had cars on Turo we rented out. And this is how DJ and I are. Like, we always have a million things. And DJ's things were Turo, had the house on Airbnb. I was doing fees and Ink and Root. And then DJ was going to launch this, I don't know, what it was
It's a
speech app, language app, whatever. But it was like, we had this conversation as a family. We're like, okay, fees is kind of taking off. We have a little bit, like, DJs always have the stable job. And he's like, I think this is the time. I'm going to quit my like cushy job. I'm going to go in. He was going in with a buddy. They were going to start this like language-based app, whatever, working with some people in China. And so we were like, this is the time. Let's do it. He quits his job. They get started. And like COVID happens, and like in an instant, it was like this big thing that we had decided as a family, like, we're going to take this leap. This is the time, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, DJ's income is now gone. Everything I was doing was halted because everything was in person or revolving around travel or so like every like source of income that we had was like cut off. And so it's funny that when people are like, how did you start? And like, how'd you do this with your spouse? And was that something you were like planning? It was like every diversified income, like revenue source we had was stopped. And we were like, oh shit, like, how are we going to pay our bills? Like, what are we going to do? And so then we're like, what skills do we have to just try to make some money and get through this time was kind of like the idea behind it. And it honestly was like one client called or one person called, and what did they say, DJ? They're like, hey, like, we're trying to, your name came up in this meeting from some like workshop that you posted. Are you doing virtual events right now? We're trying to find ways to connect with our prospects. Like, we have 15K and are you available? Could we book you to do this event for whatever date, like a month or 8 weeks, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Let me check. Like, yes, we definitely do virtual events. Let me like check and make sure everything's okay. And I was like freaking out. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I'm like, yeah, we can do this. Like, we'll slate you in. Like, let's go. And then
that is awesome.
And so once we did that, it then turned into like, when we were doing this, it was so innovative. It was so new. It was so like crazy that, we were doing these virtual events and like cocktail classes, and it just started to kind of blow up. And so at that point, it's like, if you have 30 people on a virtual event, they're one client, all of their prospects, then now you have 30 people who just received this kit who are all new prospects for you. So then everybody was like telling their company that they went to. So then I'm like, DJ, we got to do this. Like, I need like you to help with this stuff. So we just were like doing it, not even to like grow this company and like had this vision and this plan. It definitely came from, you're in a corner and like, you're just going to innovate and find a way to make money, or there was just no alternative, I guess. And so then, so like at the height of this pandemic, when like everyone was being laid off and all these things, like we were trying to hire people. It was like this very weird time. We were like working out of this live work studio. I can't even believe we did that, but like we lived in this bedroom, like this tiny bedroom. It was like a closet. You open the door, you didn't even have enough space to like walk around the bed. You would like open the door and you would like jump into the mattress. Because our whole house turned into our office, and like we were like setting up the office in the front. And so it was a wild time.
Yeah, I think there were 7 employees that were, plus you and I, working in there at some point, which is just, and then we're like, oh, don't go past this like curtain because that's like our house. Oh, but there is the bathroom back there. So if you do, just like, you're good.
Right. I remember like we had an intern or something, and she was like, yeah, I was telling my friend, like, it's crazy when I go to the bathroom at work, I can see what kind of shampoo my boss uses. And I was like, is this kind of weird?
She knows what to get you for your birthday, at least.
So I'm like, yeah, this is weird for everybody. Like we need to like find a different solution. So then like we figured out an office and like, transitioned out, but it was this, I feel like we never had time to think like, we're going to grow this, we're going to do this. And then it became, because it was like ink and root when it started, and it was now no longer what I originally was doing, but we were showing up for these big brands. Like Adobe is, it was Marketo at the time who had reached out, and then, they were bought by Adobe. So then Adobe was on all these, and then we're sending out these kits to like executives at Disney, and we recognize like, okay, our brand is not polished. Like we need to have this polished thing and have some identity around who we are and what we do, so that when these people do reach out, they're not like, hey, this little mom and pop shop. Like,
right.
And so,
is that a curtain back there? What is
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like how how it all started. Wild. And how we started working together. But never in a million years would I be like, me and DJ will work together. Like our strengths which work to our advantage now, but our strengths are in totally different places. I would have never imagined that we would work really well together, but we do. And I think it is because like we both have such a great like respect for each other, and respect for what we're both really good at, and also respect for what we are not good at. And so it somehow like really works well. Or sometimes I'm like, man, like, are we better business partners? Like, finding the time to do all things with family. And like, I'm like, geez, like we keep it together on the business front, like really well. And I think we're just great partners in that way. But if 6 years ago or whatever it was, you would have told me like, yeah, you and DJ are going to be like running this company together, I would have been like, that sounds like I might be miserable. Like, are you sure? But
that's great.
It's fun.
I mean, it helps when you're kind of forced into some of those decisions. Like DJ, you quit your job to do your own thing. This massive global event happens, and now all of a sudden, how long were you guys in that gap of,
oh my gosh,
oh shit, we've got nothing coming in to that first call coming in?
I think we should go back and look at the dates. But I know
we need
that
times and dates.
Yeah,
exactly.
let's go get the receipts.
It would be interesting to know.
Well, again, like it was, I think over the course of 2 weeks, it was everything, every income was canceled within 2 weeks. Like you got your biggest job at Ink and Root. We actually had, we did the biggest feast that we had done 1 month prior. Was it January?
Yeah.
We did that big one. But you had your biggest like project coming in with Ink and Root. And then of course, like all the travel and everything was halted immediately for Airbnb and Turo and stuff. So it was like it was for sure everything canceled within 2 weeks. And it was like one thing hit and another thing hit. And we're like, oh wow, like everything is gone now. And I don't know how many nights and bottles of wine did we go through? When I think it was Tiger King was what everybody was watching at the time. So But before we got that first job, I mean, Hannah, maybe in like, I want to say it was April something when you got the first one.
I think it was like a spring one, like something spring related. And so I think everything shut down in February or early March. And then, so it was probably maybe 4 to 6 weeks that we were like,
I mean,
that's enough time to lose sleep for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. To like be paying the rent for the studio and the house, like mortgage and the car notes. Like it was just like everything was, it was very overwhelming.
That's such a cool origin story in a way. So many people that start things have an idea and push for it, take risks, and you guys find yourselves like shoved into this. So the challenge is very different. So, aside from that, like what challenges have you guys had, after that initial one since then that you have been defining for you?
Yeah, I I'll start this, DJ, and you can kind of fill in, because I feel like 2020 was this year that we kept just being like, oh my God, it's still working. Like I kept just being like, surely, is this like, are we really growing? Like you just have no idea. And so we're, creating the road as we are walking on it. And then 2021 was again, like another year that just was like insane, and we were growing. And I think the challenge of that is not during that time being able to stop and strategically think, how do we grow? Like, because at some point, because we were doing a lot of like all of this budget that was coming from these, these companies where we can't do in-person events, and we can't do all of these things, all the money that we would be putting into conferences or anything else, we have to all put here. And I, at the time, was just like, this is crazy. So our projections for growth were like wild, not really thinking about like, okay, but there will be some normalcy at some point, and we should think strategically about how to grow in that way. And so I feel like that was this like big challenge where like 2020 was an incredible, or like it was the year of just like steady. And then 2021, we really, really grew. And then 2022 was like terrible because that was like the first year that everybody was like, okay, yeah. Now our budgets are going to be like spread out. Yeah. We're going to blah, blah. And like a lot of people were doing layoffs at some of these big companies that we were working with. Marketing budgets were like slashed. And we were like, what do you mean? We just hired 3 more people in our fulfillment center to like package up some boxes. And so it was the first time I feel like, one of the biggest lessons in this is I didn't have the, like experience or knowledge to be able to zoom out and think more strategically on how it was going to play out. Which that lesson, although it really sucked, like we had to let some people go, and that was really tough. But I think it helped me create a better foundation for, like if this is going to work, we do need to be really clear on how we're going to grow and what the vision is for that, and not just like taking in as we go and just being like, hopefully this keeps working. And I think that, was a big challenge. And 2022 was really rough. It was like a massacre. And then it's been like rebuilding since then, which we're definitely now on the path where it's a little bit, it's more sustainable and we're doing a lot better, but it's still wild to think back and look at 2021 and be like, oh my God, I was so naive. Like I really just was like, this is crazy. Like we're going to keep growing like this. And so now to be like, oh, that was like silly. Have just a better perspective and understanding so that I can build better strategy around it. DJ, I don't know if you would say anything different.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about like, are we being reactive or proactive? And I think, I still don't think we've nailed it. And there's still a lot of ways that we're very much reactive, and like the company started from pull from our customers, and we've continued to like follow that pull. And I think we push our customers in a lot of ways, like our what they're asking for maybe super vanilla, and we're like, well, but you should do it like this. So like we are in that way, reactive, and then it's almost like reactive plus. Okay. But, but one of the bigger challenges is how are we like out in front of the market and out in front of our clients? So when they come to us, they may have, or the other side of that is like, how do we go to them and say like, hey, we know your challenges. Like we've talked about these year over year. We know what's going on. How can we have this solution, or we have this approach, or we have this belief? Are you interested? Can we chat? And again, I mean, that's always in the world of marketing where you're getting eyeballs and trying to get attention, and you're trying to get anybody's attention, whatever it is. Like the general problem in marketing is like you have to continually be pushing and doing the next thing so that people will pay attention to you. And so, there were plenty of times like we took a project where we're like, this is towards the end, and you remember some of these times, like towards the end when everybody was so burned out on wine tastings and whiskey tastings and like a Zoom thing, like Zoom. Everybody's like so over it. Like they were a hit, and we couldn't do enough of them to start. And then it was like overnight. Everybody's like, I don't want to join a single thing that I have to sit at my house. And it was like things were opening back up with people to move around or whatever. And so, but yeah, like there was still some of those. We'd be like, sure, we'll host this event, pay up front for it, and if people show up, great. If not, it almost feels like we're doing our clients a disservice though when we do that. Like we need to be in a position where we have the expertise and the confidence and maybe the data and maybe the like solution to say, you're asking for this. What I think you're trying to do is, or what I hear you're trying to do is this. So here is a better solution for that. So yeah, like I mean, I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where we can sit back and we can't continually innovate. It's just not, I don't think we want to be in that spot, nor will we. But I do feel like there's another step level increase where we want to be. Like we feel it, Hannah and I, and then some of the leadership team and others, like how do we make sure we're carving out enough time to be not just executing, but that we are, paying attention to the market enough, or like digging into some niche things, or just having the free brain space to do that. Like that is, and I do think we're a little bit gun shy from like hiring, because it was just like, oh my God, yeah, like it's like biggest project after next biggest project. And it's like, we can't get enough bodies to just do the things, and enough space and enough lines of credit. All of the things, like more of all of it. And so I do think we now, after like having to go through layoffs and like pull down all those lines and like, I don't know, all of the different, how many like playing credit card roulette with people ordering things. Like that was a game we played one of those years just to keep the lights on. But yeah, like there's all of that. Like, how do you balance like making sure that you can continually grow, not getting too far out in front of your skis? I mean, it's just like all companies, I'm sure, deal with this. It's just like it hits really. It's like in theory you understand it, but it is very, very. It's a very disheartening. I don't even know, disheartening doesn't even do it justice. It's a gut wrenching feeling when you get the slack from the like finance team that are like, hey, we've done everything. Let's put a meeting on the calendar this afternoon, and we've got to cut payroll. Yeah. That's it. Like all of the things are done. We need to talk now. Like I still can read it. Like I can see it, and it is just like, so yeah, I think like it's probably a healthy thing to go through, especially like since like this is like kind of our first foray into a more like into a business like this. But I do think it's kind of like a healthy check, like a confidence. It's a pride check, because if you asked us in the middle of 2021 when like everything's going well, we're like, sure, we could do anything, and like you feel like you're on top of the world, and it is a good like, hey, like you are the like accidentally, this is accidentally working, so don't take credit for it. Like it's a sobering feeling. So yeah, that's part of the challenge for sure. Yeah.
You Hannah, you said you make there is no road. You make the road as you walk, which is one of my favorite lines from a poem, a Spanish poet. Are you familiar with this guy?
No.
Antonio Machado. And that's the line where he literally says, "There is no path, traveler. You make the path as you walk." And it's a fun.
Feel that.
Yeah. But I also think like as you're doing that, it takes good leadership, which you obviously have, to once you see the opportunity, you get the first one, you say, hey, there's something I think here. Let's capitalize on this. And you grow that out. If you weren't ready for it, you would have never have even been able to grow and capture that market. So that's vision in and of itself. But I think also it's hard, and DJ, this gets to some of what you're saying, but it's hard as a leader, CEO, all this stuff. You got all this stuff happening. Like no CEO was prepared for that. Like before COVID, everybody's buying office space.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hits and now they have all this office space. So everybody's like, great, we can actually get rid of this. So everybody gets rid of it. But in the midst of getting rid of that, they start, they're like, we can hire anywhere. We don't have to hire in these, expensive job markets. So then everybody overhires. But then all this comes to an end and there's all these layoffs. And so it's just such a reactive environment. I think it gets to what you're saying, like in the middle of up or down, or how do you take these spaces? Like, how do you know, look, we got to call timeout. We got to step out for a second, let things run. That's a hard discipline. So I'm curious where you guys are on that. Do you think you're good at that, better at it? You see the need for it? I don't know. Where are you?
I'll say there were many times, like when we were in those smaller spaces, everybody just crammed in offices. When Hannah would get off a call with a client, and everybody, like, she gets off and says, okay, bye. And everybody said, hold on, wait, what did we just agree to do? What project did you just, you mentioned something about this thing. I've never heard of that. What was that thing you're talking about? And Hannah was like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So part of it is like, yes, that is absolutely like where she excels, and like seeing like when the client's eyes are lighting up about that thing, like she's here for it and pumping them up, and then gets off the call, and then we're like, all right, let's go figure it all out. But I honestly think like a lot of it is like we've pushed. I would say that being okay with saying yes to those things you're unsure of has pushed some people out of the company. Like we've had some folks who are just like, why is everything such a like hard timeline? Like, can you just tell them no? Can you just like tell them like we can't do it anymore, or like give us a break? Like they need to tell us more. They need to give us more heads up or something. It's like, yeah, but then they're not going to give us the budget, or like we're not going to get the deal. And it's like, well, okay. And it's like, so those conversations happen, and like it has kind of weeded out some of those folks who aren't aligned, like you said, with that vision. And that's part of. I mean, there was a whole element of like. From that we use on EOS to like come up with core values and like that process and everything. But like one of those is like identifying the traits in people who are on your team right now who you think make them great team members. And so at some point you kind of look around and you're like, oh wait, I mean, you do have to do some culling yourself. But like at some point you look around and you're like, everybody, these are things that everybody knows we are okay with saying yes to these unknowns, and they are here because they want that, or they are okay with the risk, or in some cases like that's exciting to them and they like the newness, and they're not looking for the monotony. And so I do think like in that way, the vision that Hannah has and like the ability to do those things does then translate down to the people who want to stay. And if they don't, they naturally move out. But Again, like there are some downsides to it, I guess, and it is tough to like find that like how far you can like push the red line, I guess. What do you think, Han?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's all right and true. I would say, like, part of just being new and trying to discover who we are as a company was also, and I feel like this was an agreement we had where like we would say yes to things that maybe we're like, oh, should we be doing this? I don't really know yet, but like we don't know until we do it. And so we were saying yes to like, let's say yes to a lot more so that we can understand where we bring value and then like really get focused on what we should be doing. And that's just freaking hard. Like it's, and that's where it's like when we first started, we were saying yes to a lot of things. And then as we were moving back in person, it was like, okay, I used to do some of that. Like that was all I did before. So like, can we do this? Like, yeah, everybody on this team maybe hasn't, but like we can, and like, should we, and are the margins there? And so it I feel like was a lot and is still a lot of like trial and error in that way. Where I do think, DJ, that's something that you and I have, it's a skill we have gotten better at, where we're like, here's this opportunity. We don't really know if we should be, and we discuss this with the leadership team, but like, we're going to say yes to this because XYZ, like, because now communicate this, or I want to be able to connect with this person who's good. Like I feel like being able to articulate why we say yes to something that like might be like, either we're trying to see and like do some testing, or I don't know, just being able to like identify why we say yes to things. But I do feel like it was a lot of like saying yes to a lot and making up a lot. And I still feel like in some ways that everybody like that is, I guess, a thing that I do that is funny, and it has gotten us to where we are. So like, I think it is a good thing, but like, I can also see how it would be a frustrating thing of like, what are you talking about? But I think it's like, it's a tricky thing to navigate when you're first trying to figure that out as a company and you're just so new. That we have gotten better at it, but there is still this need to always explore and always keep our minds open to doing things differently. So we're not just creating the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's something even in the accounting world, because that's my company, right? We do bookkeeping, tax, payroll, accounting, stuff like that. It's easy to stay busy. And there's so many requests, and we always have to come back. And I'm so bad at it that I now pay a business coach to tell me to stop doing things, because I'm like, hey, we'll bring that on and we'll do that. And we went through a couple weeks ago, and he was like, we went through everything. He was like, cut 75% of what you guys do. And so it was really helpful, because and especially in the space that you guys are in, like, that's not a beaten path. Like, you're kind of creating what it is, and you've got to find where your passion and your skill and the money all overlap together. And that's awesome. So there is going to be some working that out. So it's cool that you guys have the bandwidth and relationship, or, are developing that with each other and with your leadership team to, have the place to try that and figure out what it is. It's probably never going to stop, to be honest. You never know what's going to happen. So what are some projects that you guys have done that y'all are really proud of, that have just popped off and it's been fun and exciting?
This was a few years ago, but I think like the Viola Davis project we did, DJ, was really cool. We did this big Women's Day campaign, and we did this direct mail kit that like every item in there was sourced from like a woman-owned company. And then we wrote this booklet that kind of got to tell this like mini story of each company and like how you can support these women-owned businesses. And then there was a virtual event attached to it, and Viola Davis like spoke and kind of gave her story, which was really cool. And I think DJ just several things come to mind. Like, it was a really creative project. I loved like being able to, select the vendors and tell their stories and like celebrate women, and also just never really having done that type of thing before. And I remember wiring, how much money was it?
I think her fee was $120,000.
120,000, 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And we had to get it to her team within like 24 hours or something to like book her. And we're on like 30-day payment, maybe 60-day payment terms. I can't remember what Adobe is. And we had to come up with $120,000 and wire it. And then we were like, once we did it, we were like, oh my God, what if that was the wrong number? And like, if that money is like, it was just like all those like things, like, like nauseous.
Yeah, I think the biggest talent that we had booked prior to that was like, I don't know, like $1,000 or something for a really good psalm, maybe, or whatever. And it was like, and the person who was like really heading that up, Jess at the time, she's like, where do we even go to like book? I think we put Viola Davis on a pitch deck at one point.
I know, I did.
Hey, she would be great for this.
I could get her.
Yeah, we were like, can we go get a speaker? We're like, I'm sure. Like, yeah, like we're offering money. She'll speak. Like, why? No, let's put her on there. And yeah, chasing that was that. I came across some of the pictures of that event on on my phone not long, like a couple of weeks ago, and just you could just see how proud all the team members were at that point. It was like it took all of us to like pull it all off and get all. I mean, it's like we're doing the tech and we're running the event and like getting the production and like getting all this. It was like so much, and it literally did take everybody that was there. And like there were tears, like people were crying. Like I remember that, like they were just like so
That's
proud
awesome.
of the work they were doing, and like that actually was like one of the most special like projects that we had done. And I know like we placed several big like orders with these women-owned businesses, and like they were stoked about it, and they were like, so like it's just something whenever you like go through a vendor and you're like, oh yeah, send the invoice, but like when somebody is like, oh my god, this means so much that you would like feature me and like this would be my product in this, and like it's going to these group of people, and like it was just like all these bigger mission things that probably like we could not have orchestrated ourselves. Some of it was just it just fell in our laps, but it did. So when I look at the impact of all those kits going out, and like Dan Viola was an incredible speaker, and like I thought like just blew me. I sat down, I didn't even know what to expect, and I'm like, wow, this was amazing. And like then looking at everybody else being so proud of the work, like that was like one of the coolest moments that I remember in terms of projects for sure.
It sounds meaningful on several different levels, and for you guys, and then for Adobe and the women-owned businesses. I mean, that's a lot of layers, a lot of impact. That's cool.
Are you guys a woman-owned business? Nice. Has that
actually?
DJ's nodding his head.
No, you already said yes. Yeah, DJ already said yes.
You did say yes.
He was
like on paper, like. Do we have the certification? Is that what you're asking? I'm asking.
This is being recorded, DJ.
I was not going that deep.
Okay.
If Hannah says yes, that's going to be the big test. But
we are.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Well, I was going to ask the question more of like the function. Like you're the face of Howdy, Hannah, and like you're out there talking to clients. So as a woman, do you have to deal with a lot of men out there that are running these companies, or is that not a thing that you come up against?
It really isn't. I don't feel as impacted by that. And I don't know, like there's a lot of women in marketing. Like all of my clients are mostly women. And the men that I work with are used to being on teams with like these badass women. And so I think that I personally haven't experienced that, in this like realm and what we do. So I feel lucky in that sense that like, I don't know if it's just the industry specifically, like with marketing, there are just a lot more women, maybe than in some other industries.
I suspected that, but I still wanted to ask the question. I was just curious as to, what that would be like. All right. So
I like had one, I have to like quickly, this is a
go ahead.
Like for a project, this was before Howdy. It was my favorite interaction with a man. But I was doing some activation for this company, and sweet, like it was an architectural, I don't remember exactly what they did, but like sweet man. He kind of reminded me of my dad, but like he owned the company. He was so nice. We did this project for them. And then I was going to go up there to get a check. He was like, hey, like you can meet me, whatever. Like I'll give you your check at this date. So I walk up and I'm going to grab it. He was like, and he opened the check and he looked at the amount and he said, ooh, like, dang, like that's nice. You got you some shopping money, and like handed it to me. And I will never forget this like moment that I just was like, that would never, like when, in what world would you ever like go pay a business for a service that they provided for you,
right?
And their check,
right? Like
the accounting wrote that you don't know, and like say that, but and I don't know. I didn't like take offense to it because I think he just he was genuinely trying to be like sweet and like have a conversation. It wouldn't like my dad has always empowered me and my sister as women, and like he's a
awesome.
business owner, but he would totally like not mean to be any type of way and like say something like that. And so I think that I always joke about that. Like if anything happens, I'm like, ooh, like I got some shopping money. Like I'm going to go shopping. 'Cause that's
At least
what
he didn't
women
say.
do.
At least he didn't say something like you could buy something for your kitchen, or like
Yeah, you can get a new mixer.
some more shampoo, yeah, something like that.
So that's really like the only like, I don't know, but I haven't experienced too much of that.
Mm-hmm. Is DJ shopping how you recharge?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's
Yeah,
that's our revenue account. It's named shopping money. You just for me because I get to name those. So yeah, I'm gonna go spend it.
I would be so down with that. I'm 100% in.
So one of the things that we like to hear is, because I think this is a lot of what Patrick and I enjoy, is taking something abstract and making it real. Work, like you get an idea for something and then you've got to flesh it out, and the process of that, how many times it changes, all of that stuff is different, I think, for everybody. But you have to do that. Y'all have to do that on a daily basis, I'm sure, with clients. I'm sure that's happening when you look at your business and now where you want it to go. I mean, you're going to hit 5 years, right?
Yeah, true.
This year. So I don't know, how would you say y'all look at taking an idea and bringing it to life, making it real?
It's a good question. I mean, again,
to be fair, this was on the list of prep questions.
Yeah, we did send read them.
I said Hannah did.
I'm stalling. Oh, that's
this
right.
This is the first time I've heard this.
You sent this question to us and asked for us to ask it to you guys.
Great
what are you talking
question.
Yeah. I mean, again, it does go back to like making sure we have time to do that, and to just formulate the idea. So like that's the first challenge. Like, are we actually making space to do that? But I'm trying to think, Han, like what would be something where we were like, hey, we have this idea that we want to make happen. Like we've got to go do it. I'm maybe blanking on what one of those.
I mean,
conversations probably have happened.
Like happens very frequently in my conversations with clients where I'm like, oh, this is the thing they need. And I think how that comes to life is being so confident in the team that we have and the people that we have put into place, because it will be a different scenario. Like, back in the day, whenever we were idea creator and then figure out executing, and then you're doing that ourselves, and like what that process was like versus like now. I think the skill and how we actually bring those things to life are not necessarily dependent on me, and that's like bringing in the people that we put in place, like our creative director who's incredible, and our accounts team that are working so hard to, understand the details and make things come to life. Like they're why the things happen. And so I think it's being able to communicate effectively and, like be able to bring this idea from my head, because that's what I'm really good at. Like I'm really good at selling things that aren't there, and really good at like hearing these problems and being like, oh my God, we could do this, this, and this, and this. But like, I want to get off that call with the client, and like, I'm not good at then the follow up. Like my follow up is very low, but my like quick start and ideas and like vision, I'm like all here for it. And so to have that person be responsible for selling all the things, you have to have a really good team behind you to then take the creative vision and like bring that side to life with the design and like the flow and the like experience of it. And that's our creative director. And then the logistical pieces of it, with our accounts team and making sure all the details are thought through and the client's communicated to, and there's a shared spreadsheet with blah, 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 blah. And so I think that's the key now is just being able to communicate that vision and get all these multiple people to see the same thing so that they can go do what they're really good at and go execute it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of the answer is having the right people around. Like your creative director is the next stop. After you say all this, then it goes to the creative director.
Yeah. A lot of the times, like most of the times I'll rebound off DJ because the DJ just knows a lot of things. It just like doesn't make sense. He knows how to do drywall. He knows
Right.
sales processes. Like there's just like all these things that he knows. And so
When
I
to
feel
set
like
up insurance when you're pregnant.
yeah, exactly.
I do know
He's
that
HR. So I feel like that's typically the first step where I'm like, oh, like da da da. And like a lot of the times, if it's really complex, it starts with us where we're trying to make it make sense before we bring it to Huli, our creative director. But for something for a client, if I'm like, oh, there's this gap here and we can be doing this, like that's usually the path. And then I'll go to the creative director and we'll take it from there.
That's awesome. How'd you find the creative director, this person?
She's amazing. She's in Argentina. We found her through this recruiting agency. I don't even remember which one.
I think it was Athena. I think Athena.
Oh yeah, it was. It was the first one that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just been incredible. I don't know. She's been with us for now 2.5 years.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I like, she's been such a key part of, because at the time I was creative director and I was doing the sales and I was doing, because like my background is more creative and, but it was being able to like have her run the team, and she's an incredible leader. And her opinions are extremely valued. So I think she's just, incredible. We're very, very lucky. I always make the joke. I'm like, if Huli quits, I quit.
Yeah. It really makes a
done.
difference. A good team and good people and the right people in the right places, it makes a huge difference.
It definitely does.
Was the sales process, and this can be for either of you. I mean, Hannah, I know you handle a lot of the sales, but DJ, it sounds like you're in some of these conversations at some point as well. But closing the sale, like getting the yes. Has that come naturally for you guys as you're doing this? Is that something that you've had to work on? Like, how do we get it? We're talking to a lot of clients. We're not necessarily closing a lot of them. I don't know. What was the journey with that?
I think to start, I was so inexperienced in like how sales works. It's like a more natural thing. Like I'm talking to people and we're vibing and like they like what I'm saying, and then I put something together and like, yeah, we want that. And I'm like, great, that's just how it is. But understanding, okay, there is this process. And then when we moved into this like next stage, like I just was so inexperienced in all of that. And so I definitely, the DJs help me understand the flow of that and how our clients work and what that looks like to set up better processes on the sales side. So I feel a lot more experienced now than like when we first obviously just got started and I was just like winging it. But I do feel, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, most conversations that we have close, but we're not having enough conversations.
That's awesome.
So like, that's the good and the bad. The good is that like, if we're making a pitch for something, like I can't remember the actual percentage, but it's like 90 something percent of the time, like we're going to get that deal. Wow. And so it like sounds amazing, but it's like, yeah, it's great. But we don't have the volume that we need to have to sustain and like be able to, plan ahead of time and be having multiple conversations. And so that's where I think we really struggle. So the closing part of the deals that we have, feel very confident in that, but having enough conversations to like build pipeline for future quarters is like, we're not doing that.
That is a tough one as well. I think almost for any company, unless you're in a hot market at a great time, where it's just growing. It's boots on the ground trying to get out there. One last question and this is, both of y'all can answer this one, but it is Patch, you got it. You asked this one.
Well, I like this question just because there's a lot that we do as people that matters, and you have to be good at some of this stuff. But we always have these things that sometimes you're a kid and you do something, you're like, yeah, I can't wait to be older and like do this thing, and it never happens. And so, like, what's something you're good at that just doesn't matter?
Oh, hold on. Is this true for you, Patch?
Like, yeah, absolutely.
I want to know what yours is.
Yeah, I don't know this for you. Like, what is this for you?
I have a lot of them, okay? Because I'm good at a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. One of the things that I really enjoy, that I'm good at actually, that doesn't matter at all, is throwing stuff in the trash from a long ways away, especially the trash cans that have like the cover up a little bit and you can like get it in there. And then if I'm like walking by and I can and I'm not talking about like 2 feet away. I mean, you got to, it's like 10 or 15 feet away and you can get it in there. You don't break stride. Dude, my week is made. I'm just so happy about that. That's like cloud 9 all the way up.
Brilliant. So. When you were a kid, did you think that was going to turn into something for you? You're like, this is going to be great.
This is it. This is it for me.
Well, yes, but it wasn't like basketball. I just felt like at some point in time, all my friends would be sitting around and I would do it. And they just would say like, man, you're awesome. Dang. They would see it happen and I would just receive so many accolades from it. So that hasn't happened. And usually it's just Melody, and she's mostly around for the times that I miss my wife, and she's like, why do you keep doing that? And I'm like, I'm actually pretty good at it. So
do you just need somebody to tell you, you're awesome? You're awesome.
Thank you.
Whether you make a shot or not, you're good.
No, but I do like this question. I feel like there's got to be something for you guys.
Yeah.
That's there.
Now I can't decide if this would be super. I do?
Yeah.
You're welcome to share one of those. I can't decide if it's something that should be really trivial or actually have some meaning, but I'm struggling with either of those. So,
I guess it's like, does it matter? I was thinking of it more like, does it matter in the actual role and job that you're doing versus like, does it matter? Because like, you know how to fix, and you know the most random facts about cars that literally you can look at the silhouette of a car and be like, Pontiac G6 1993 production in Germany.
That's perfect. Wow.
I know a lot about cars.
Got it. Yeah. You were really close for a while there. Definitely not in Germany. So.
Yeah. And like, why do you know that? And like, how is that useful?
Yeah, but, like, exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah, y'all can answer for each other. This is good.
Well, okay. Actually, this is good for Hannah that Ink and Root actually started as a calligraphy business. So like when it comes to like writing our son August's name on his like water bottle, I'm never allowed to do that. It always has to be Hannah because it looks like it came from a print shop. But so the cards, she gets to write the cards.
I
get to write.
Yeah, I like to write cards, but it's whether they're legible or not, or pretty or not, is not even in the equation.
That's true.
Calligraphy is one of those sad things. I mean, it's an awesome thing, but it doesn't come to bear anymore. It's sad because it's like you wish you could use it more, but now calligraphy.
Throwing things in the trash is sad too.
No, I didn't mean it was sad. I meant it's sad that calligraphy doesn't come to bear as much as it should, because it is Like, that's actually a really good skill. Throwing something in the trash from a long way away can't help anybody, unless, no. Yeah. So calligraphy is one of those things that's just sad that there's not enough.
It's a lost art for sure.
Lost art.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm also good with words.
We were with you for the journey. That was good.
Yeah.
We got there.
Really sad that you are good at that. It's sad.
Says a lot about you.
Makes me sad.
When we were growing up, our mom did calligraphy, and it was like a thing where people would come to her and be like, "Hey, can you do the wedding invitations or whatever?" And she would do it. And then now it's like,
It's cool.
Our kids barely even learn cursive, much less like how to write with a pencil. And so calligraphy is like, they're not even going to know what that is in 15 years or so. So that's what I meant by sad. It's just, it's sad that it is not more relevant to our lives today. I think it's an awesome skill.
Too late. No, the damage.
Oh,
is
come
done.
on, DJ.
Honestly, I was kind of tracking with you because I'm like, yeah, I hate it. Like when I see it now, I'm like, get it out. Like I don't want to do it. No, I guess that's a good one. It's pretty useless now. I don't ever use it, and I have zero interest to do it.
I'm sorry.
We have a whiteboard in our kitchen, where we keep the calendar, diary of the events for the month. I am not allowed to write on the whiteboard because it's like even my kids will come by and be like, "What is that?" It's like, this is carrots on the shopping list. It's like, it's not carrots. So calligraphy. Yeah, I don't know if any of my siblings picked it up.
Definitely not our sister
Top
Judith.
with my mom.
Definitely not.
John Luke actually spent a long time working on his penmanship, which is sad.
That's true. Wait, why is that sad?
It's not sad. It's called a callback in comedy.
Oh my gosh, let's take it to the next topic here.
All right. No, you guys, thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. I feel like there's a lot of the story elements for both of y'all that we barely touched on. We spent a lot on the Howdy part, but it was awesome. But fun conversation.
Yeah.
How did it feel from when you first heard that you might be on a podcast to actually doing it?
Yeah, it felt way more like less pressury.
Okay, that's good.
More ease. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
I mean, I think it's a compliment to you two. I mean, it's a conversation, and it is like
It's kind of sad.
It's more sad than I thought it would have been, but it is. Yeah,
we almost got to the affirmation that I was looking for, and took a hard left for some reason.
You wanted it too much. I was like, I would have gone there.
It's funny because I wasn't really looking for that, but then it started coming out, and I was like, "Hey, that's fine. I'll take it. I'm good with it."
Yeah, you just needed somebody to tell you're awesome. So I can tell.
I wish every guest was like you guys.
I do think it is. It's actually helpful to like take. When the last time we took like just 90 minutes and just kind of like talked through some of these things, and have somebody who doesn't have all of the like context and like backstory and everything, just like going into this and like prying and not even you don't even have to pry hard. Like it's you just use the little butter knife just a little bit, and like it's a good, like, to me it's actually makes me realize like, oh, we should be a little better about reflecting, and we should be a little better about being intentional about like, hey, where did this come from, and like making sure we don't lose some of that. That I don't think we have to always do the things like we did, or the same motivations have to be true, but it is like some of those things came from the core of who you and I are, and those things are still true. And so we, and I do think I think we've done pretty good about, like even just having those core values that the company keeps, and like that I think you and I hold quite well. And so I do think that is a good reminder, but it's also, there's a different part of it that is just like me and you that I I think we probably could be a little better about finding time, making time, and prioritizing that reflection to help us, shape some of the future and the vision. And so, yeah, thanks. I mean, thanks for the invite, but also thanks for being solid host. So I didn't know what to expect, but you're the best host of any podcast I've been on. So here's that.
1 for 1.
Business Cake is produced by Sound Ops. The music is written by Philip Cusius, and this is hosted by Will and Patrick. If you enjoyed it, please rate us 5 stars wherever you find your podcasts.